to run both. And let's say I want to have a dedicated SMS, dedicated SD, I mean like distributed. So at one appliance, select SMS and another SD, right? It means during operating system installation, as such, like there is no way to select SMS or SD. Once OS installation has been successfully done, and during initial configuration, you would have the option to choose between SMS and SD or both, because they both SMS and SD, they both run on top of what? Gaia operating system. So Gaia is the operating system, and if you purchase a hardware platform, so hardware platform comes with the pre-installed operating system. So simply you will have to start from the initial configuration, doing initial configuration from the web UI. That has to be done, of course, in all the way. So no matter whether it's like virtual appliance or physical appliance, at least initial configuration, of course, that is required, and that need to be done. But at the time of doing initial configuration, we select whether we want management server or security gateway, right? So it's a checkpoint 3 tier architecture, and similar solutions are offered by different vendors nowadays. So I mean like the Palo Alto firewall, Fortigate, even Cisco, FTD, and FMC. I'm sorry, firepower management center, and even in like up to certain extent in Cisco SD-WAN solution, like there's a dedicated management server. Same here in checkpoint firewall. So it's very unique and different architecture in checkpoint firewall. Like a smart console connects to management server, and then like from management server we push the policy to the security gateway, right? So and then security gateway by default sends log to management server, and whenever we would have to check the logs and all that, then of course we would have to connect from the smart console GUI computer to the SMS or security management server. And I'm going to show you a very quick demonstration of all this, like how this smart console looks. So if like it's your first time like you are going to learn checkpoint firewall, you have not seen the smart dashboard or smart console screen till the date, in fact. So I'm going to show you like how this smart console or dashboard looks like, and how to you know, a very quick demonstration like about like different various ports and implicit rule and all that. So I'm going to show you all this. So I hope you understand three-tier architecture of checkpoint firewall, right? Because it's very important from troubleshooting perspective. For example, if there is no SIC, or there is no I mean like the secure internal communication is not proper, they are not communicating, management server and security gateway, they both are not communicating properly, right? So definitely we would not be able to push any policy from management server to the security gateway. So what we do, first we test this SIC whether it's working properly or not, and if like it's not working, then what we need to do, we then reset this secure internal communication between management server and the security gateway. And I will show you in the lab like how to do this SIC reset, and uh, and in lab environment as well as production environment, because in lab environment we really never care about the outage or any performance issue, because whenever we do the like SIC reset, so important or critical services are restarted automatically, right? So important services are restarted here on checkpoint gateway. And of course in production network is never recommended. I mean like you cannot afford to restart all the services in production network. So what will be the like recommended way in production network, I mean like how to reset SIC then if services are going to be restarted? Is there any way to uh, reset the SIC without restarting the services? So I'll be explaining each and everything in the lab environment how to do all this. But at this point in time, what you should understand here is, without proper SIC establishment, management server can never push any policy to security gateway, and even security gateway can never push any send any log to management server. No communication at all, right? So it's not only about the IP reachability between both security management and server and security gateway. They should have proper trust relationship established, right? I mean, like there should be a proper tunnel here. And that is why I'm going to talk about internal certificate authority server also, because digital certificate is required here for the SIC establishment, right? So digital certificate. And in the next slide, I'm going to explain this ICA, internal certificate authority. Okay, let's move on. So Smart Console is a checkpoint GUI application that manages security policies, monitor products, events, and install updates, provision new devices, appliances, and manage a multi-domain environment. So Smart Console is a GUI client, graphical user interface client, right? GUI client, this one, a Smart Console. From single dashboard, we would create security policies, NAT policies, URL filtering, VPN configuration, DLP. I mean, like all the configuration will be done from here, from a smart dashboard, logging, monitoring, even reporting, everything from this smart console only. So basically, smart console is basically a checkpoint client software tool or software that need to be installed on Windows 10 machine, right? And security management server and security gateway, they both, security management server, SMS, and security gateway, RSG, they both run on top of Gaia operating system. They both run on top of Gaia operating system, right? Gaia operating system. Whereas smart console means Windows machine, Windows 10 machine, and management server and security gateway, they both run on top of Gaia operating system. And as I discussed, like for the redundancy of security management server, there can be a secondary management server. So the first management server is primary management server. So once like primary management server has been configured, then we can go for additional management server, that is secondary management server. So it's not a basically clustering solution. It's just redundancy solution, primary and secondary, because secondary means read only copy of database. Primary means read and write copy of database. And there will be again proper secure internal communication between them, secure. And once primary management server goes down, becomes unavailable, so still you can connect to secondary management server. But as I said, like secondary management server means a read only database copy. Secondary management server means read only. So what we need to do then, would have to change the mode from secondary to primary, and very easily, like with a single click, secondary management server can be promoted or upgraded to primary management server, right? Because without doing that, you would not be able to create any security policy, NAT policy, or any other policy, in fact threat prevention policy, any policy, you would not be able to do that. And the third one is security gateway, a cluster. So the engine that enforces the organization's security policy. It means security gateway is what? Enforcement module. Enforcement module. Policy is pushed to the security gateway. So security gateway is entry and exit point of the network. Entry and exit point of the network. It's a security gateway device, right? A gateway responsible for doing routing and all that. So three core components of checkpoint firewall: console, management server, and security gateway. All right. So Smart Console is in all encompassing unified console for managing security policies, monitoring, installing updates, adding new devices, appliances, multi-domain environment, and is organized into following views. Like there are different views here: gateway, security policy, logs, and manage and settings. And I'm going to show you how it looks like a smart console. And another important point to discuss here is secure internal communication. So what is secure internal communication? So secure internal communication is a means by which platforms and products authenticate with each other. For example, SMS and SG, they both are checkpoint components, and they both need to have secure trust relationship, a tunnel established, right? A secure channel, management server and security gateway. So it creates trusted connections between gateways, management servers, and other checkpoint components. SIG is required for policy installation on gateways and to send logs between gateways and management server, right? And the communication port here is used here is communication port here like in SIG and policy installation is TCP 18191 and for the logging TCP 257. So secure communication means like here if it's my security gateway, SG and SMS, a secure channel, a trust relationship and secure channel, encrypted channel is created between SMS and SG to provide security at first place, right? Because not all gateways will be like local gateways, right? Other gateways means what? Remote gateways. And we don't know about the transport, like what transport, like I mean, like this the local gateway. Then here, like there can be different transport like MPLS, internet, or any other transport, and the gateway here, SG2 or SG3 connected to this transport. So, of course, there should not be like plain text communication between SMS and SG. So, no matter whether gateway is at the same site or there is remote gateway, local gateway, there should always be encrypted communication between different checkpoint or various checkpoint components. For example, here between SMS and SG, between SMS and SG, and what all communication ports, no, not exactly the communication ports, like the way like how this SIG a trust relationship is established between SMS and SG. So whenever we do like initial configuration of security gateway, so at that time we like set a one-time password or activation key, also known as what? Activation key. Activation key is required, right? When? At the time of doing initial configuration from web UI that I will show you in the lab. So whenever we initiate SIG with the gateway, so of course SMS server should be knowing like the IP address of gateway, and of course there should be proper IP reachability. And if there is no other firewall coming in between SM and SG, then no need to worry about like different communication ports. I mean like the ports required in SIG, in fact the like ICA like different like ICA internal certificate authority push and pull. So really we don't care about like different like communication ports here. Why? Because as there is no firewall in between SMS and SG, but there should be IP reachability and SMS should have one-time password activation key configured on the gateway. And what if you have forgotten that? Then can be resonated. Can be resonated. So we can set this one-time password later on because there is a command cp config checkpoint configuration. So with the help of this command line utility, we can set another activation key or one-time password. But for SIG communication, one-time password is required, right? One-time password or activation key is set where? On the security gateway, right? When? At the time of doing initial configuration. So the same one-time password or activation key is required when we do SIG establishment between SMS and SG, right? Okay. And there are three authentication methods here. Of course, certificates, standard-based SSL for the creation of secure channels, and triple dash digital encryption standard if like gateways are like R70 are like maybe some older versions, and AES 128 advanced encryption standard if gateways above R71. So they use AES 128. bit for encryption, and for older versions, triple DS, like for example R65, triple DS. Okay. And what about internal certificate authority? So basically, certificate authority role is to assign or provides digital certificate. Digital certificate means a digital document, right? And there are different purposes of digital certificates. Like digital certificates or SSL certificates are used in authentication, of course, in HTTPS or SSL tunnel, identity certificates or user authentication, encryption, file folder encryption even. So digital certificate means a digital document, right? So digital certificate or digital document must have been issued by certificate authority server. And there are different types of certificate authorities. For example, you must be aware with the public certificate authorities, public CAs like VeriSign, GoDaddy, uh, Commando or Symantec, DigiCert. They all are public certificate authorities. The next one is enterprise certificate authority, either like root or subordinate, like a private CA sort of thing. Sometimes we use self-signed certificate. This is the certificate signed by the issuing authority himself, like Mr. ABC says that yes, my name is Mr. ABC. So the person himself is saying like my name is this. That's what this self-signed certificate means here, right? You must have seen browsers complaining about like the self-signed certificate. That certificate is not trusted, right? So browsers immediately complain about self-signed digital certificate because they do not know the issuing authority. They don't know like who have issued the certificate. They don't have like the uh, root CA certificate installed in the trusted root CA store folder maintained by the browsers or operating systems, different operating system. And I'll talk about SSL certificates and digital certificates in detail later on because it's really one of the important topic. SSL certificate is very, very important. Understanding like root CA, subordinate CA or intermediate, private, public and self-sign, and for what purpose digital certificates are used, how HTTPS or SSL tunnel is created, right? So I will explain all that later on, but here is not required. So at this, but you should understand that here SMS management server itself is what? Certificate authority server, just for the internal purpose, right? And that is why it is known as internal certificate authority server. So SMS is also internal certificate authority server and is created during server installation. Server, I mean like management server installation. And it is responsible for what? SIC authenticates between gateways or between gateways and security management servers. VPN certificates, right? Is used in VPN. So if in case of even site-to-site VPN, if there are two different checkpoint security gateways, and if they both are managed with the same management server, and here is the tunnel, what we want to create. So if both security gateways are managed with the same management server, so even VPN certificate is the default method for authentication. Even we cannot change that, right? In case if we want to set use pre-shared key, I mean like the shared secret key for the authentication, that is not possible. That is not possible in checkpoint firewall if VPN gateways are managed with the checkpoint management server, same management server, right? Then digital certificate is the only method for VPN peers authentication. VPN peers authentication. And when it is done in IKE phase 1, packet number 5 and 6, if you are aware about IPsec, IKE IKE phase 1, IKE phase 2, IPsec tunnel. So in IKE phase 1, packet number 5 and 6 means VPN peers authentication. Packet number 1 and 2 means only authentication method. And if you don't have any idea about IPsec VPN at the moment, so no problem whatsoever. Forget it. Uh, uh, of course, later on I will explain like VPN in detail, like how encryption keys are computed, security association, VPN peers authentication. I'll explain all that. So for now, like just you can skip that. But digital certificate is used here also in VPN peers authentication and can be used for user authentication also, right? So certificate means in SIG, VPN peers authentication and user authentication. So if the security management server is renamed, trust will need to be reestablished as the certificate is reissued, right? So what is recommended? You should not change the name of management server, because changing name means what? FQDN will get changed, and that is why you need to re-establish the SIG. So that is so best way is what? Don't change the name of SMS. Initializing trust, a gateway and security management server use a one-time password. So this one-time password, OTP, is also known as activation key, right? So OTP is what? Activation key. After the initial trust is established, the ICA issues a certificate to the gateway, but does not yet deliver it. The gateway and security management server will then authenticate over SSL using OTP. Once authentication is done successfully, then certificate is downloaded and is stored on the gateway, and OTP is deleted because it's a one-time password. So certificate is downloaded and is stored after successful authentication over SSL channel, right? And of course, SG and SMS, they both have like clocks synchronized. So if either like if you have like NTP configured like on SMS and SG, then definitely there is no problem whatsoever. And if like there is no NTP server configuration, then make sure that SG and SMS, they both should have like synchronized date and time. So what we have discussed so far, security gate means enforcement module, firewall, SMS, and GUI client. GUI client means a smart console. GUI client connects to SMS. From SMS, security policy is pushed. Policies, right? And SG by default sends logs to SMS logs. And here in between SMS and SG, there is secure internal communication. So when we install SG, I mean like not the installation, during initial configuration. So let's take a very simple topology here. So here a physical or virtual machine, and Gaia installed here. Let's say IP address is 10.0.0.1. So once operating system is installed here, so during operating system installation, since we are not going to make our selection whether this will be my gateway or SMS, so of course like there is no point of setting up OTP one-time password at that point of time. So what we do, we access the gateway, and I will show in the lab with any browser, right? From this machine, let's say machine IP address is 10.0.0.50. It's just a Windows machine. So if there is IP reachability, so this Gaia platform OS will allow HTTPS access coming to this port. It means it's known as web user interface. So initial configuration, a setup wizard automatically runs here, right? Next sort of thing. And will ask like whether you want to configure this device as a gateway or management server. So if you have chosen this gateway, then next screen will be like whether will standalone or like a unit of cluster. And then the next screen about activation key or OTP. And the same OTP is required when you do SIG establishment, right? And I'm going to show you all this in a very quick demonstration here. So if you look at this option here, so it's a smart dashboard, checkpoint, a smart console or dashboard, and it's very simple topology here. Security gateway, internal interface IP is 10.1.1, and here SMS IP address is 100, and a GUI client machine, right? And GUI client machine IP is 10.1.1.181. I think, right? And the interface here is 192.168.0.101 is another interface here, different segment. In fact, here like there is a router and connects to internet. So there is management server gateway here, SG and SMS. And if I show you the property page of gateway here, let me show you. So it's a property page and of what gateway, because there are two objects here, gateway and management server. And security gateway IP address, and here like if I click here communication, and if you can see here secure internal communication, so already trust established, is running on the open server, and there are different software blades here. I'll talk about the software blades later on. It's just a very quick demonstration, right? We'll do all this initial configuration, installation, everything, so be assured to that. In fact, okay, and if I click here communication, right, so trust establish and test seek. So look at the output here. Status is what? Communicating. It means it is in good shape. In fact, SMS and SG, they both are communicating with each other. And if I show you the policy, like the implicit policy, but I was talking that like in theory session action, and if I just show you the implicit rule here, implied rule, it means rules created by default. And let me show you here, like this one, CPD port 18191 allowed by default, right, between management server and firewall. And this one, firewall 1 log, TCP port 257 between firewall and management server allowed. CPM and CPMI, they both are allowed between GUI client and management server. So really we don't need to allow any protocol here, right? And this ICA pull and push both are allowed between firewall and management server. All right. And if I by default it is not enable tracking, is not enable logging, but here like I have enabled this option, log implied rule. It means we can have log of implicit rules also in the logs, security logs, but by default, like implicit security policy logs are never generated by default. Okay, and let me, and another important point here is like any traffic that matches implicit security policy or rule will never get encrypted, right? Okay, so now I have like connected from like GUI client, and GUI client machine IP is what? 10.1.1.181, and SMS 10.1.1.101. same LAN segment, right? What if my GUI client machine is here? GUI client is here, right? And what I want to be connected to this SMS. So SMS server IP 10.1.1.101 and GUI client machine is 192.168.0.123. So I'm on different machine now, and let's first verify the IP address. So IP is 192.168.0.123, right? And management server IP is management server IP is 10.1.1.1.101 and password here. So it's a dashboard, username, password, and IP address of management server. So it's management server IP address, right? So here, like I've seen like people making mistake here, especially the students. They just like put down the IP address of gateway here. So that's incorrect. You have to put the IP address of SMS management server, not the security gateway, because GUI computer smart console means connecting to management server. So now I'm going to connect to this like management server. Hit down the login. Now let's see like can we connect to management server or not, and in the meantime is getting connected now. And let me show you like the packet capture on management server in the meantime. So here is I'm on the management server, and let me get into export mode. TCP term -i interface ETH0 and the host machine IP is 192.168.0.123, right? And do not resolve. So a lot of packets you can see here. And like 123 coming onto this port 18190. And what about and here another one is 19009, right? So communication like seems to be in place. In fact, let's go back to Windows 10 machine and verify that whether connectivity to management server is successful or not. So I'm back to this Windows 10 machine, and there's proper uh, connectivity here. So in fact, a smart console has been successfully connected to security management server, right? So now we can use this smart dashboard uh, like for creating security policy, NAT policy, or any other policy. And I will show you in the next section, in fact, how to create security policies and like how to push policy from management server to the security gateway. So that's something different. In fact, we need to discuss later on, but not in this section. So I hope you understand like checkpoint, three tier architecture, three core components of checkpoint firewall, dashboard, management server, and the security gateway. Security gateway, that is enforcement module like the firewall, security gateway itself, doing encryption, decryption, routing, packet inspection, threat prevention, URL filtering, right? Antivirus, email security, everything. Management server is the database server, security policy database, firewall rules, object database, log servers, reporting, monitoring, even licensing. Because in checkpoint firewall, like there are two types of licensing, local and central. So in central licensing means like all gateways licenses can be managed from single management server, right? And dashboard is GUI client machine or Windows machine with the smart dashboard. The dashboard like what you can see on this screen now, right? Okay, so that's all for this section.